Ruth Freeman, CEO of the Myton Hospice, what was your toughest moment?
The position of hospices needs to be shifted so it is seen as critical.
Surely this isn't sustainable.
Well, you know.
PodFast is back, 6 minutes long guests and no time to waste. Ruth Freeman, CEO of the Myton Hospice, you started fundraising in 1985, thinking it was just a temporary job, a stopgap. But now you are managing the most critical healthcare service in the region. How did you get here?
I mean, I fell into fundraising because it was something I could do working around my children. I was very young; they were very young, but I soon discovered that I loved it. I wasn't particularly ambitious. I enjoyed fundraising. It opened a lot of doors for me socially, and I met a lot of lovely people. I'm very competitive, so if there's targets, I had to beat them, and I went through every single job in fundraising that I could. Then went into management, and then got my first director's job at Myton. And then somehow I applied for the job of CEO, feeling that I won't get it. But I did.
I find it bizarre how you can apply for the job of a CEO. What did you have to go through for that?
Well, it's like any job. I mean, it's quite as you said, it's a critical job, and you do need somebody in that post. It's a paid post, so you are going to have to apply for it. Competition's usually steep because people love these jobs. It's a privilege to do, because you see the difference you make if you work for a big organisation that's making profits for the shareholders. You don't get. I would imagine you don't get quite the same buzz as knowing that you're helping people. Once you're in it, you don't want to get out of it, and I suppose that's where I found myself, because I found myself in it by accident. But there's no way at any time in the last, I won't go into, well, you've already said how many years, would I have wanted to come out of it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think falling into it, there's something profound about finding your life's work in kind of like a quick detour. What would you say to someone who's thinking that their current job is temporary versus staying curious and hungry in that role?
I think the key to it being happy in your job is, one, to find something that you are passionate about. I think if you're doing something for a very long time, it can be challenging to keep in the hunger and everything. But a job is what you make it. Look for the next bit. What else could you do within that job? I'm nosy, and I think if you're nosy, you start looking at how you can improve things, how you can do things differently. And I think you have to find a way that keeps you motivated. I'm lucky because I've got the cause, but if not, and I've never worked in another industry, so it's very difficult for me to say. But I think you find what motivates you, whether it's because you're competitive, whether it's because it gives you a great access to a whole range of people. But I always say to people, if you get an opportunity, any opportunity, just maximise it, because, don't waste it. Looking at other people, I think you have to try things, don't you? Don't get stuck in something you're unhappy in and think, well, I'll find another route to doing the. Look for what makes you happy, I think, and what you're good at. Where do you make the biggest contribution, and where do you make a difference? It doesn't necessarily have to be to people, does it? It can be in all sorts of different ways. When you make a difference to something, it makes you feel good.
Ruth, I've got some stats for you. There's a £60 million funding shortfall across UK hospices in 2024-2025. There's a 47% increase in palliative care demand expected by 2035. 1 in 5 hospices planning service reductions due to financial constraints and low government funding. And Myton Hospice asked for around £12.7 million a year, and now with a new budget is expected to find an extra £190,000. Surely this isn't sustainable.
Without more funding, it isn't sustainable. You have to keep looking at different ways to do it. So, I mean, coming to work here, or the partnership here, is one. Funding reform for hospices is absolutely essential. I mean, when I first came to Myton, we got 50% of our funding from the NHS. This year it'll be 17%. So it doesn't cover even the basic of our services. And what needs to happen is the position of hospices needs to be shifted so it is seen as critical. They are seen as critical rather than a nice to have, because they're absolutely not. And if you experience hospice care at any time, and hopefully you won't, but people do, then you would know the difference that was made by good end-of-life care, where people are surrounded by people who care about them, are the centre of what's happening, not being done unto, and have choices in the care that they receive. And it should be for everybody, not just for the lucky few, which is I would say that at least 30% of people don't get the care and the support they need at the end of their life. It's not available. They don't even know how to access it. And as a famous Marie Curie quote, if people had to jump out of planes to fund maternity care, there'd be a public outcry, and yet everybody accepts it about end-of-life care. It's just the way it is.
Oh. I listed all those stats, but at what point do you have those conversations with your staff saying we're going to have to cut these services? And as a CEO, how do you manage those tough conversations?
We haven't had to actually cut services yet. If in some areas, being honest, if staff have left, we might not have replaced them, and we have conversations. The key to keeping staff with you, because they all care about Myton. There isn't anybody at Myton I've come across who doesn't care about us, our future, the patients, the families, is to tell people what's going on. Everybody knows by looking around that hospices are struggling. So we keep our staff up to date with what's happening, where we are. And we know that all of the decisions we make won't be popular, but the important thing is they know we're going to tell them the truth. And what we found is they stay with us and want to fight the fight with us. Yeah. I hope. Yes, that's the feedback I get from them. And having everybody on side is key. Or plays a big part in our success. The thing you have to be prepared to do when you do that is listen to what people say. And we don't always like it either.
Really? What do people say?
Well, if people don't always think we're doing the right thing, and when we're pushing to get more patients and everything, it puts staff under pressure, which it does, because it's you can imagine working in that environment. It's actually really challenging day in, day out. So when you're working in an organisation that's high in emotion and all of those things, and people working close with patients, or they might be working in the fundraising team, they will have a view. They wouldn't be people if they didn't. It's good that they can tell us what they are. If we couldn't take feedback, then we wouldn't be able to run the organisation in the way that we do, because people would think we're not listening. And even if we can't do what our staff and volunteers tell us we should do, at least we can talk to them about it.
I think as CEO, everyone's looking to you for answers. And what was it like in COVID? You lost 80% of your income. Who did you phone at 3 a.m. when you just couldn't sleep? Who did you turn to?
We didn't think about it, we just did it. You had to just get through it. We had a great team. We had an emergency team who we met every day at the beginning, and then less so. It was a team that we mobilised from everywhere across the organisation that we needed to. And it was everybody pulling together. And in a strange way, it was really rewarding. We didn't have to think about it. We just did it. There weren't any options. We couldn't say, we've got to do this. We've got to get through it. We've got to make sure the patients are okay, and we help as many people as we can. It was clear. Sometimes decisions in life aren't that clear, are they? You've got lots of different paths you could take, and you have to pick one. Yeah. With COVID, we were really clear where we were going, and we did okay.
Clearly. And finally, Ruth, as CEO, what was your toughest moment?
When COVID first hit was probably the toughest thing, because at that point we just didn't know how it was going to pan out. It was only when we sort of pulled ourselves together and said, okay, we have to just get on with this now. It's no point. But at that, nobody knew what was going to happen, did they?
And not as CEO, what was your toughest time?
When I first came to the hospice and I was told that I'd got to raise money, I'd got to double the income. That was okay. But then I was told that the hospice that we hadn't yet built, they told me they'd raised the money to build. We discovered that we hadn't raised all the money to build, and on top of everything else, I'd got to raise another 4 million in 2 years. Not on my own, but that was a standstill moment and a sort of, but again, the team, you can't, when you've got the right people, it works, doesn't it? So.
Crikey. Ruth, we have a closing tradition on this podcast, which is where the guest, regardless of who they are, answers this one question. And that is, what is one message that you've never sent, but you wish everyone would receive?
It has to be about Myton. And I think I would like to send something to everybody which says, remember, at some time you might just need the support of a hospice. And if you do, we need to be there.
Incredible. Ruth, thank you for your time and your incredible work. I think it's utterly amazing, and I can't wait to host our Answers in the Room, have you alongside us, and we can do brilliant things for Myton Hospice, I'm sure. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you.
Cheers.